Good afternoon. Welcome to our special Facebook Live series called Expert Connections. We are interviewing experts with information and insights to help all of us during this COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Julie Holton, the founder and principal strategist of Connexions. We are seeing some really incredible things happening in our community. We're seeing businesses stepping up to help other businesses, people working hard to make sure others are fed, their needs met. So many positives are happening in the greater Lansing area. We know that it's not easy. How you're doing can sometimes change by the hour. So we are here to help, connecting you to community experts with knowledge and resources to share. Today, we're going to talk taxes. I am joined by Nikali Luke, of a partner and CPA at Simplified Tax and Accounting Service. Nikali, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm glad to do it.
So, all right, so much to talk through when it comes to taxes. And I know you were just telling me offline that things are just constantly changing. You're spending a lot of time keeping up with all of the changes. Let's first start with the federal tax filing deadline, which has been extended now to July 15th. Should some taxpayers still file now?
I would say yes. I think that especially if you're due a refund, which a vast majority of taxpayers do get refunds, it makes good sense to file now. No reason to wait on your dollars. Initially the IRS had extended the payment date till July 15th, but not the actual filing date. And then they came back and said, no, we're going to just push everything out. No actions required. And they just moved everything forward to the 15th. And again, that's for the IRS. And so, but I think even if you do owe, I would rather know in advance and then have some extra time to plan versus waiting until July 14th to figure it all out. So if there's a refund coming, 100%, go ahead and file, get that in. And then if you owe, again, you have the extra time, you can still file and then wait until July to pay if you want to.
Okay, now we're talking, as you said, federal. Do you expect Michigan to follow suit, or what are you expecting as far as the state returns?
So we haven't officially heard yet from Michigan. All indications are they will follow the IRS rule and move it out till July. Last night, I was actually watching Governor Whitmer did a town hall, and she kind of hinted that it might come out today. But I guess in my gut, I feel like they have to follow the IRS. Or longer. There's no way that they'll be shorter than the IRS's extension. So my guess is they'll mimic it here shortly.
Okay, and I think you just said this, but I want to make sure that it's clear. Do I need to file an extension for myself or my business to file past April 15th, or is it automatic?
It is automatic. So both the filing, so usually the biggest penalty is actually the failure to file. So, there's a failure to pay penalty, failure to file, and there's interest, all three of those. And they've postponed all three of those until July. So if you do nothing until July, there will be no negative implications to you.
Okay, great. So I want to talk also about the coronavirus stimulus package. In the Senate's version, which we saw passed this week, this relief stimulus bill includes a recovery rebate in the form of a refundable tax credit. Who would this impact as the bill stands right now? It still needs to go to the House, which they're working on today, but who would be impacted by this rebate?
So you'll hear me reference that we're learning new stuff as we go, but from my understanding, really it's going to be $1,200 for any single person. It'll be $2,400 for any married couple. And then you get $500 per child. What I haven't seen yet is there a limit on that? So if I have 4 children, do I get $2,000, or is there some sort of ceiling? Not sure yet, still waiting to hear. There are some income thresholds. So for a single person, if your income is over $75,000, that's your adjusted gross income, then you might be phased out. And that phase out goes from 75,000 up to 100 grand. So if you're below 75,000, you should get the full 1,200. If you're between 75,000 and 100 grand, then you'll be somewhere in the middle there. If you're married, those numbers double. So if you're under 150,000 of AGI as a married couple, you should get the full amount. And what I'm hearing is that if you have not yet filed your 19 tax return, then they're going to base it off your 18. If you've already filed your 19 return, they're going to base it off your 19. And they're saying that if you had direct deposit of your tax refund on your 19 return, they're going to directly deposit the stimulus and you should get it a lot faster. They're saying it could be an extra month or more if you don't get direct deposit. But if you have not filed your 19 return yet and you had direct deposit in 18, they're going to use that as well. So it's possible, that you changed banks between that 18 and now. And my understanding is they're going to try to direct deposit it. They're going to send you a letter that says, we try to direct deposit it. And if you don't see it, then contact us. So, there's still a lot of unknowns, especially if your income was different. So if in 19 you will qualify based on your income thresholds, but in 18 you wouldn't have, but you haven't filed 19, then they don't know and you won't get it. And my guess is, and this is truly a guess, I've not seen anything yet, is that there'll be some sort of reconciliation of that when we file our 2020 tax returns. So if you didn't get it, but you should have gotten it, then my guess is they'll make that right on the 2020 tax return. What we don't know is if it's the opposite. So if your income was lower in 18 and you get the stimulus, and then later you file your 19 return and you shouldn't have got it, are they going to make you pay that back? And if they do, how are they going to get that? Are they going to get that on the 2020 tax return? So still some unknowns there. But the quick overview is $2,400 for married couple, $1,200 for a single, $500 for each child in the household. And again, that income threshold is 75 grand for a single, and then 150 grand adjusted gross income for married couples.
Okay, obviously so many details that need to be worked out on so many levels with this, but that was really good information, especially about the direct deposit. So people should be checking on that. I have a question. So looking at businesses, what if a business has already filed for 2019? And what if that filing included payment? Are we able to stop payment? What does that situation look like, especially for businesses that really right now need that cash flow?
Yeah. So, most businesses that I work with, most small businesses don't pay income tax. Most of them are flow through entities. So really only a C Corp will pay its own tax. S Corps, partnerships, sole proprietorships, single member LLCs, all of them are flow through entities. That means that the income comes from the business, flows to you personally, and then you pay the tax at your personal level. But if you did already submit a payment, if it's already gone through, it's too late, I think. I haven't seen anything that says they'll give you your money back. If you scheduled your payment, typically those payments are scheduled through the EFTPS system with the IRS, Electronic Funds Transfer Payment System. You can go on there anytime before the payment date and cancel the payment. So if you have scheduled those payments, you can log in and cancel them. And again, they'll be pushed out. If they were due in April, they'll be pushed out until July.
Okay. And how are our 2020 estimated payments being impacted?
Good question. This has been a fun one for me as a tax person. So first quarter, anything due April 15th got pushed out till July. So your first quarter payment is typically due the same time as your prior year tax return. So that would have been due on April 15th. So they pushed that out till July 15th. They have not messed with the second quarter estimated payment, which is due June 15th. So really your second quarter payment is due before your first quarter payment this year, which makes no sense, but that's how they currently have it. So for my clients, I've been doubling up their first quarter payment that'll be due in July. And then that covers both first and second quarter and gives them an extra month on that second quarter payment.
Okay, now we have a lot, and I don't know where this will go, but we have a lot of businesses obviously shut down right now, not able to be bringing cash flow in. What if a business can't pay their upcoming estimated tax payment?
So there hasn't been a lot of information coming that says what we'll do to you if you miss the 15th, the July 15th. So my guess is, if it's income tax related, that of all the taxes that a business owes, the income tax side is the one the IRS will be the most understanding with. So if you have payroll taxes or sales tax, withholding taxes, and you have to pick, I would always pick those payroll taxes, sales taxes first, because the IRS will work with you on the income tax from your business operations. Michigan has also done some extensions on sales tax and withholding taxes too. So stay tuned. They're kind of giving new information as we go. But I know for sure that Michigan sales tax has been extended by 1 month. Usually that's due the 20th of the month. So they let people push that forward 1 month there. So if you are a retail business and you had a big sales tax payment due, but now you've closed down, you might be able to hold on to that money for another month, even though that sales tax money really isn't yours. You hold it from customers and then give it to Michigan, but it sounds like Michigan's willing to give a little bit of time on their side of things as well.
Okay. Now, last week, it feels like a year ago almost, last Wednesday, President Trump signed into law the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which includes relief for individuals, those who are self-employed, and businesses. Can you talk a little bit about what kind of relief this includes for individual taxpayers?
Yeah, so, I'm getting a lot of questions about my sole proprietors or small business owners that are not on payroll, right? So they have people on payroll and they've been able to either let them, if they had to lay them off, they're able to go get unemployment. But as someone who's not on payroll, you're not able to go to Michigan and claim unemployment, So I had one of my guys today just say, I shut everything down. What am I supposed to do? Can I go get unemployment? My short answer is no, not yet. So both Michigan and the federal government are working on ways to get employed people some relief. So what I've seen either when they file their 19 return or 20 return, but that's not quick enough. So I think, on the federal level, they're looking at ways to get self-employed people some unemployment, but that will be facilitated through Michigan, is my guess, that they'll get the funding from the feds to Michigan. Michigan will disperse it. And as of right now, as far as I know, as a non-employee, you're not able to go out there and request unemployment yet.
Okay. What am I missing? We were kind of talking offline a little bit. I'm a writer. I'm a marketer. Taxes, this is why I hire someone like you to take care of business taxes. And I think there are a lot of people in that situation. What do we need to know? What am I missing right now that we really should be focusing on?
Couple things. One thing I wanted to mention when we were talking about the individual stimulus. My understanding is if you have not filed your 18 individual return, then you will not qualify for the stimulus. And so our phones are ringing off the hook of people saying, hey, I've not filed my 18 return. Can I get my 18 and 19 filed right now? And, our offices are closed. And so the answer is you can drop it off and we will try, but is it going to be in time to get into the system, to get processed by the IRS and for you to get your stimulus? I don't know, honestly. So I would still say better to file. So either if they do a second round of this, if this goes on longer than we anticipate, or if after the smoke clears, they do go back and say, okay, who have we missed? Then at least you'll be on the radar at that time. But I was just talking to someone in my office and they said it's, of all the questions, our phone's been nonstop ringing. Of most of them are about that stimulus. And one, we don't know everything yet. But number two is we do know that if you didn't file your 18 return and or 19, one or the other, then you won't see the stimulus dollars. So that's one thing on the individual side. On the business side, and I'm going to speak a little bit because there's some legal stuff going on here that I'm not 100% sure on. But my understanding is that if you do have employees and they're still on payroll as of April 2nd, then you are required to pay them 2 weeks of paid sick time. So if then you will get a reimbursement of that from the federal government. So if you have people on payroll, you make it to the second, then there are some exclusions if you financially can't do it. But if you decide, what, I'm going to lay the rest of you off, you can't do that. Once you get to April 2nd, if they're on payroll, then you're required to continue to pay them with benefits for 2 weeks, and you'll get a credit when you file your next quarterly payroll tax return. It'll offset the Social Security and Medicare tax that you owe as an employer. And then any additional, from my understanding, will be refunded. I wasn't sure if they were going to make you carry that credit forward, but it sounds like they'll go back. So really good thing for both employees and employers where I want to keep you on board, but my cash flow, is just making me nervous. Well, this is a way to be able to pay them. It will take some time, but you will get some dollars back eventually from the IRS and in that second quarter return would be filed in July. So in theory, by the end of July, you'd get a refund back of the dollars that you had to put out to keep your people employed during that time. And really, Mike, the phone calls I'm getting the most right now are if I do need money, how can I get money? I hear about there's money out there, really. So, you know, what I'm seeing is the SBA, the Small Business Authority, is giving out, well, not giving out, they are trying to fast track loans for people. So I've been trying to help my clients do this. The website that had been used the last week was miserable. It was, I was on at 11 p.m., I was on at 6 a.m., and it was freezing, and it was horrible. So yesterday they did away with the website as far as trying to fill out the forms online. Now you fill them out and you can upload them on the SBA website. So if you go to SBA.gov, there's a little link at the top. It talks about COVID assistance, and now the website's much better. So it lists, here are the forms you need to file, and they made it much easier. Instead of asking for as much information, they're kind of just taking general information from you, and then they're going to contact you. So kind of like a credit card, honestly. Like, when you apply for a credit card, you don't know what they're going to give you. Same concept here. So you will put your information in, and then they'll contact you, give you an offer if they're going to extend credit to you, give you an offer, and then you guys can work through that together. And they even say on there, we may ask for more stuff, but we want the basics, which is the application, personal financial statement for any owner that's over 20%, some tax documents, which is also a really good reason to have your 19 tax return done. If it's done, you can upload it as part of the application. If not, they'll take 18, but my guess is there'll be a lot more questions because they don't know, they need more current information than that. So that's one reason to also try to get your 19 accounting ready for your tax person if possible. And then you can upload that on the website. So my understanding, that is a 3.75% loan, so pretty good interest rate. And it'll be amortized over 3 years. And it looks like you'll get like the first year with no payments. And so they're trying to make it work, trying to get money out to people. The stuff that is in the stimulus that has not passed yet is even better. So my understanding is they're going to allow the SBA to issue funds through local banks. And if those funds are used for payroll of your people, they may forgive it up to $100,000. So based on how much your average payroll is, you may be able to, and then if it's up to, I think it's up to $100,000 for payroll relief, and then your rent and utilities as a business owner to keep your operations at least up to date, they'll also forgive some of that loan for that as well. So rare in the world do you get money and it's forgiven. So this may be a case where that happens, which again, we are learning tons about this stuff as it's happening rapid fire right now. I have a conference call at 3:00. I have a conference call on Monday, trying to make sure that we gather all this. But I just spoke to a local bank, and they said that second version, the money that's used for payroll that will then be forgiven, it's going to take about 3 to 4 weeks before the feds get it to the local banks, and the local banks are able to get it out to people. But the rules, from what I can see, are very specific as far as you have to spend that money within 8 weeks, and that's your forgiveness period. So if you had payroll before and then you laid your people off, and then you get this money and they're not back to work yet, you may not be able to forgive it. And I think they're going to make some incentives to bring them back earlier. So, if you miss some of this window, but if you bring your people back early, we may forgive it faster. So lots to learn still on it all, but I think they're trying their best to get money out to both individuals and businesses as fast as they can.
Absolutely. And I'm thankful to you for taking the time to walk us through this, because there's obviously a lot to process and keep track of. Clearly, they're really making a lot of efforts on many levels to keep people working, to keep cash moving in our country so that we can keep paying bills. I know a lot of people have been reaching out to us all week long for the last several weeks. And I know you're hearing from a lot of your clients, businesses, individuals who are very concerned about making ends meet, for sure. We do have one question I'm going to throw up on the screen here. And I know, Tia, you had tuned in yesterday when we were talking to Lori Lonsdorf from the Small Business Development Center, and she was also talking about some of these, some grants that may be coming, but also loans. And so she's asking, should you go to the SBA site for the grant instead of purelansing.org?
Great question. I'm glad you mentioned it. So MEDC came out with two pieces to the puzzle. One, I think my understanding is they're issuing 60 $10,000 grants. And I think that they opened that up today. So, and the application process is from today until March 31st, I believe. And so I would definitely try,
So, yeah.
small businesses should try to apply for that. With 60 available, I don't anticipate majority of us are going to see those dollars. But the other option looks to be even a better loan. So I mentioned that the SBA loan is 3.75%. My understanding is a loan through the MEDC will be at 0.25%. So obviously, if you're going to lend me money at 3.75 or at 0.25, I'll always take 0.25. I think there's still more to come from them. I don't think you can go there yet and apply for the loan. I think you can apply for the grant right now. But I don't think the loan's quite open yet. I think they're hustling and trying the best they can. And I was really excited to see both those options available. Got a little bit less excited when I saw there's only 60 of the grants. Again, understandably. So I think that as a small business, you should absolutely try to take advantage of that grant if possible. And then if that doesn't go through, I would also, honestly, at the same time, as soon as you can apply for the MEDC loan, apply for that. I honestly would apply for all three of them. Apply for the SBA, apply for the MEDC loan and grant, and then when this second version of the SBA comes out, the forgivable portion, I would apply for that as well. And they've kind of made it clear that you can do both with the SBA. You can apply for the traditional loan, and you can also apply for this possible forgiven loan that's coming out here in a couple of weeks.
Okay, great information. Tia, great question. Not one or the other, all three, Nikali is saying. Thank you so much again. Is there anything else that you want to make sure and point out before we wrap up?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Is there anything else, Nikali, that you want to say before we wrap up?
I think that trying to make sure you get information from credible sources would be important. So I just was on the IRS website checking on that stimulus to see if there's anything new that I could give you. And it specifically says, we don't have anything yet. Do not call us. Come back later. So I think if we give them a little bit more time, they'll try to get that information out. But be careful. If your neighbor tells you something, it may not be right. It happens all the time. So just make sure you're trying to get good information and know that using, it's going to be a couple weeks here before we see some real good answers, but it should be pretty soon.
And I want to make sure you can contact Nikali through his website, choosesimplified.com. You can also reach out to him directly through the website. His contact information will be there for you. So Nikali, thank you again so much for breaking down this information, and we'll make sure and check back with you as things continue to evolve in this situation.
Happy to do it.
All right, so we are working, our team is working right now to line up more interviews for you next week. We're going to be moving these Expert Connections interviews to 2 days per week. We're going to focus on Tuesdays and Thursdays so that we can continue to focus on our clients, our communities, our own families. But we will be bringing you 2 or 3 interviews each of those days. So already working into our lineup next week, we're going to hear from 2 nonprofits, Habitat for Humanity and Project Koru, are both turning to some really creative ways to help their constituents and keep their mission moving forward. So you'll love hearing what they're up to. And I bet it will trigger some new ideas for your businesses, your organizations, your nonprofits as well. We'll also be continuing to talk with the attorneys at Foster Swift. We've talked with 2 of them already on cybersecurity and employment law. So many ways that business and life is being impacted right now. And so we are grateful for Foster Swift's dedication to helping us continue to communicate these messages. And you're going to hear from our own team. If you are tired of seeing just my face from M Connexions, then you are in for a treat, because I'm going to have some of my favorite experts join me for a roundtable to talk about marketing and messaging and what we could and should be doing right now. So that's all on tap for next week. Follow our M Connexions page, watch the events, turn on the notifications, and you will see when these dates and times are scheduled. So from all of us here, have a great Friday as much as you can. We're here if you have questions, if you have topics you'd like us to cover, let us know, and we will see you back here on Tuesday.